Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Right now, the hottest topic seems to be wealth tax, wealth tax, wealth tax. How can we tax richer people more to be able to generate more revenue for the government? Right now, there just seems to be the discussion that's going on everywhere. My position is I'm quite doubtful of that, but I believe there are other means to be able to tax rich people to be able to easily get money out of them and also get the expected amount that you would actually be able to use and add to your revenue. Because I believe wealth tax is not gonna raise anywhere near the amount that people are expecting. There are other means, capital gains tax, tax on dividends, like corporate tax, all these like VAT, especially like there are other means to be able to tax rich people than a wealth tax because wealth tax doesn't work. There's a reason why lots of countries don't do it. But hey, let's get into this video. Let's see what these people have to say about it. And if you like the video, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get in there.
Have a look at these two people here on the bench. So you've got here a guy who's earning 100 grand a year, and you've got somebody who's on hard times, actually, it looks like, on welfare. And then you've got another person here. We're just giving you examples of her possible targets for tax rises. This guy's earned a lot of money. He's on a barge. And then we got Tech Bro over here. International guy, runs a big company, let's say Meta, Amazon, Starbucks, Google, whatever. So, Big Tech Bro, 100K a year guy, well off but still working, someone on welfare, and this guy has put away 25 million. He's bought a canal boat and he's just going around Britain in it. So he's not officially got a job. So you can't use income tax with him. Now think about these.
Now, looking at these four options, right? The person that's on welfare, you can't tax that person. It seems unfair because the whole point of taxing is to raise revenue, to be able to help the people. One of the main reasons is to help the people that don't have enough to be able to sustain themselves. So it seems crazy taxing the people that you're taxing in the first place. To tax the people that are the reason why you're taxing people in the first place. It seems kind of like circular. It seems unreasonable. The 100K person is already being taxed heavily. People on that kind of wage are already getting taxed heavily, and there isn't much room to be able to move around for them anymore. The big tech person can just go anywhere, right? Actually, wait, hold on. This 25 million person that's not working, that's got like a boat worth 25 million, right? These are the people that people talk about when they talk about wealth tax, right? They are the target. But the problem is, there are two problems. Number one, the easiest one is they can just leave. They can just move their assets and go to another country. Number two, this, in my opinion, is the hardest part, right? Thing is, what he has, he can just have an asset that's worth 25 million pounds but doesn't generate any money at all. It's the same way I can buy like a diamond screen or whatever, some level of architecture that's worth 10 or 100 millions of pounds, right? If it's just a picture, it's not generating money for me. So if I have to get taxed on it, that means I have to sell that product, right? If I don't have any other money coming from somewhere else, that's one of the big problems. Eventually, you're going to force people to sell assets, and then that is going to eventually lead to people selling, and then the prices of these assets are going to go down. And then when they go down, then obviously they're gonna go below the threshold that you're asking to tax them in the first place. That's the ripple effect that it can actually have. That's one of the big problems of taxing wealth, especially that doesn't generate any money at all. Now, this big tech person, you can easily tax them, right? In my opinion, you can easily tax them. You can just increase the taxes like capital gains tax, corporate tax, dividends. Like you can increase the taxes that's already on them rather than trying to tax their assets. It just makes no sense. People like this have teams behind them that can hide their wealth. Like they're not just gonna have any random person. They're gonna have lots of accountants that can do that for them. This is not easy. It's not as easy as people make it seem to be.
Four. Who do you hit? And I'll just tell you some of the problems. Okay, Big Tech Bro, who's, if he's based in Britain, hit him. But he can move, can't he? 100K guy already thinks he's overtaxed. The welfare person, which incidentally involves pensioners as well, think the winter fuel allowance, well, they've been hit sideways already, and you can see the political problem there. This person, yeah, maybe he's sitting on wealth. He says he's already paid tax on it. Maybe you hit the guy on the barge. He could leave the country, though.
That's another thing. Someone sitting on this kind of wealth, 25 million, if it's the savings, then from the money that they got working for it, then they've already got income tax on it. And then when they bought this boat, that's worth 25 million, they've already paid VAT tax on it. So they've been taxed twice for that money that they have. And now taxing them again without them even selling it or without their asset providing any sort of revenue. That's the third time you're taxing that money. It just seems unreasonable. The only option is to move the asset to another country. That's it.
If he's got 25 million. Who do you hit, Io?
It's a tough one, honestly. I think
Very tough.
This budget's been tough, and there's no easy one because you can't keep taxing the average worker, PAYE worker.
Well, what about 100K guy is not the average worker. He's on a relatively big income. He would be described as rich by a lot of people. Can you hit him?
But I did the numbers on it, so looked at it. Basically, they won't have any of their personal allowance. They potentially work for the big city firms, so they have to be in London. The cost of living there is higher, expenditure, travel, rent/mortgages. There's actually people already feel quite squeezed, even though it sounds, for most people watching this across the country, especially not in London, it seems like, oh no, they're abundant. It feels like we'll almost be punishing people who are striving, maybe made some specific decisions to do specific
So if you
jobs.
don't get a 100K guy with the umbrella, where do you go?
I think it's got to be the tech bro. We've got to start taxing these corporations. They found ways to not be taxed in the past, offshore, moving. We need to literally look at how we tighten these loopholes because they're not being taxed and they're creating so many cultural issues as well.
You raise a very interesting issue because they have got something called a digital services tax, which is aimed at hitting the big tech bros, James. But the problem is that America's got cross about it.
They have got cross about it, and I think we're almost asking the wrong question. Because if you start to say who should pay more tax, look what happened when the budget event took place in October. So the budget event that took place, the markets took fright, they increased our rates of interest. So pretty much every single tax rise will go in paying more interest on the debt we already have.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? What that means is that our rules, in my view, are too complicated. We are salami slicing so that people don't quite know how much tax they are paying, which means that we're having infighting, which means that we don't target those who genuinely should be paying more. And we have rules which have encouraged investment, but almost punished those in this country who are entrepreneurs and risk takers. So until or unless we address all of those things, you're not going to have a successful go at the tech bros. And I would agree, they're probably where I start. But any international company, because we don't have a global taxation regime, you know, money and tax sort of flows like water. It'll go to...
That's one of the problems as well. The fact that it can move around easily because there isn't no global tax. If there is a global tax, then there's nowhere to go. Like, regardless if you move around, you're still going to pay the tax. But there isn't a global... That's one of the easiest way... That's one of the... Why moving to another country is such an easy solution. Because it's like, okay, if you're going to ask me to pay here, I'll just move it. And that's so easy.
It's the lowest level.
Well, I'm listening to everything you've said, and you could have said in one word, welfare. That's where you want to go, isn't it? You want to take money off the person who's claiming.
Do you know?
Well, that's the only choice you've got.
No, that's not. Because
So you're happy with us paying out the amount we're paying in welfare?
First of all,
350 billion.
we do waste a lot of money in this country. We have this view, oh, we need more money for this and more money for that. If you have a problem with your household budget, what do? The first thing you do is you look at what you're doing and you try and cut stuff out that's not needed. Are we cutting the right stuff out? I don't think we are. I think we're unfairly targeting some people who desperately need our help, and we're still giving money where we don't need to. So that's one set of things. The second thing is that if you want to take from people who are wealthy, you can kind of do it once, you can kind of do it twice. Until or unless you recognise growing the economy is the answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Growing the economy, growing wages, more people in employment, increasing the overall wages. That's the ultimate solution at the end of the day. That's the best of both worlds because now you're getting more people making more money individually. There's less poverty overall. And now the revenue that's coming into the government's budget is increasing overall. There are less people relying on the government's budget. That's the best of both worlds. That should be the main aim, not creating a wealth tax. It just seems kind of odd.
Which means for a few years, you might have to dip into your reserves. You've got to allow. We're already being taxed more. Tax thresholds have not moved.
Okay.
Inflation has.
Well,
We're being
the
stuffed.
Conservatives were in with all of those ideas, and they ended up with the highest tax
Because
rates
they were
we've had
idiots and
since
they made the
war.
wrong choices. I'm not here to support
But in the
them.
end, if you want to go do what Liz Truss does, let's see how that
No,
goes.
because she didn't understand how to manage markets, as Rachel Reeves hasn't done. They're all as
I don't
cretinous
know.
as each other.
We're running out of options here, aren't we?
I know we're running out of options, but I do agree we can't tax people on welfare anymore. The stats show that 2029 we're going to have 250,000 people in the UK in absolute poverty or close to it,
So
and
you're
that'll be
obviously not
50,000
taxing them.
children.
What you're doing is simply cutting the welfare.
Cutting
you
enough
wouldn't
to
do that.
cause them harm. I wouldn't do
Okay,
that.
okay.
And I don't think you can keep taxing the PAYE worker when every April all bills increase, inflation.
Well, what about the guy on the barge? Look at this guy
but
here.
here's-
So
I do
hang on,
think-
James.
I do
Sorry.
agree that we do
the
need
guy
to
on the
do it.
barge is sitting on wealth, and there you get to a wealth tax.
We need to find a way of taxing those with assets, because that's what basically is happening.
That makes no sense. You can't tax assets because there are lots of assets that don't bring out money. If I have a frame that is worth £100 million and you say I want to tax you on that, the only way I can ever get money to ever pay tax on that is if I sell it. And then if I sell it, then it makes no sense anymore. You taxing me on that. It just makes, now you're just forcing me to sell my investment. That's all you're literally doing. That's one of the big problems of taxing assets, because there are some assets that literally doesn't generate money.
We have the asset class and the PAYE worker. They can't do anymore.
Right.
They're
But
being
is it-
exploited.
if
They're
the guy-
transacting time for money. They can't grow
Understood.
that
But
anymore.
you've got to avoid the double taxation disaster. So if somebody
But we
is
already
asset,
have that.
yeah. Well, we do have a double taxation disaster. So if somebody is asset rich and cash poor, then you need to avoid taking another slice of something that is going to put more
That's
people
it. Asset rich but cash poor. That's one of the problems.
into difficulty. But if somebody is sitting on assets and not either using them or something else, you have to find a way. But then you have to be prepared to take away some taxes in order to go after that different style of money. But what I would say,
I mean, how do you get the money off the guy on the barge when he can just sail away?
Well,
and we've lost about, I think we've gone from 177 billionaires to 165.
but you're not asking the question, which is, well, where did they get that money? Because if they got that money and they've paid tax along the way, then
that's
stop
right.
being so envious. Go after.
Oh, okay, so you can't, right.
So you,
There's this idea that rich people don't want to pay taxes. Like, oh yeah, they need to pay taxes because they don't pay taxes. That's just not the case at all. There's a difference between loopholes and tax evasion. Loopholes is not tax evasion. Like, loopholes are not, they're not criminal acts. Tax evasion are criminal acts, but loopholes are not. Loopholes are there for everyone. Every single person that's working is also loopholes.
You've got to stop the politics of envy, saying they've
All right.
got it, we need it, we'll have it.
Okay,
Stop
let's get
all
a
that.
call. Let's get a call.
I've got
Thank
one
you.
more
I'll come
comment.
back to you. Go on quickly, yeah.
One more comment, which is the government needs to use its assets more effectively. There are properties up and down this land that they could use effectively, but they're not business-minded
Okay,
in that.
but
So this will be my conclusion, right? One of the big problems after everything I've stated, right? The big problem is that it's an enormous amount of work trying to value what people's assets actually is, because rich people are very good at hiding the assets, right? Now you have to calculate every single asset someone actually owns. Just think about how difficult that is, the amount of team that you're going to need to be able to do that. Now you have to pay a lot of people to work. So by the end of the day, when you get the money in from the wealth tax, you probably have already paid it off to the people that are using their energy and their time to be able to sort out which wealth tax you need to tax in the first place. And that's the problem. Another problem is the value of assets. Who determines what the value of an asset is? Is it the market? Or is it the person? Or is it what someone is willing to buy it? Who decides what this asset is actually valued at? Because we both know at the end of the day, right? Just because something is on the market for a certain price doesn't mean that's what the value is. It can be overpriced and underpriced. So who determines what it is? If you're gonna tax my wealth tax or whatever I sell it as, all I'm gonna do is literally just sell it to another company I own at a threshold that's below what you need to tax on, and then boom, it's like, oh, I sold it for this. That's the value, so therefore you can't tax it anymore. Who determines the value? But those are just the difficulties that like comes with a wealth tax. Why I'm quite skeptical. The solution is just increase taxes, corporate tax, capital gains tax. These type of taxes that we already have, increase them. That's simple. That it's so simple. I don't know why this is even a discussion. But hey, that's just my thoughts on the video. If you have any disagreements, just put it in the comments below. I'll definitely check it out. If you like the video, drop a like, and if you want to see more of this, you can subscribe to the channel.